Remember your mercies, O Lord. Remember your mercies, O Lord. In other words, do not forget your mercies, O Lord. This is our responsorial psalm for today. Friends, if you mention those words as your own, it is like you are reminding God not to forget his mercies. And you, a human being, reminding God not to forget to be merciful. That's what we just sang in the psalm. That sometimes life can make you ask God, remind God not to forget his mercies. But the truth is that he doesn't forget. Anyway, he doesn't forget. It is we who are mortals who tend to forget. So you have to keep record of events just to keep track. But this God we worship, he never forgets. Yet we are here today, this morning, singing, remember your mercies, O God. Do not forget his mercies. Amen. Amen. For those of us who need God's mercy this morning, this month of October, a new month, getting closer to the end of the year, today's psalm should be an encouragement that your God, my God, our God, will never forget his mercies on your life. Amen. Amen. This psalm becomes practical for the lives of the Israelites who were in captivity when the first reading took place. In the first reading from the prophet Ezekiel, we hear the story of how he has to also tell them that, look, he says, you say I am unfair, God speaking. You know, sometimes we tend to judge God. Sometimes we pass judgment on God. It's not our fault because life can make you judge God. So the people of Israel, because they were in captivity, slavery, bondage, they felt they needed freedom to be themselves. And in that captivity, in that bondage, in that slavery, they were judging God. God, you are not fair to me. You are not fair to my family. You are not fair in my marriage. You are not fair in my business. If you are judging me, you are making comparisons. Obviously, if you compare your business with others, your marriage with others, your family with others, you can sit down one day and say, God, you are not fair to me. Friends, the Israelites passed judgment of God because the circumstances of their lives were difficult. And so, God had to remind them rather that, look, I am God. I'm not being unfair. I'm a fair God. I pray also that the words of this morning will encourage all of us who feel that God has neglected us, who feel that God is not fair to us. He has been unfair to you for the past 9 months already of the year. 9 months. You can sit down and say, God has not been fair for the last 9 months of the year 2017. If we're in that condition, that situation, Jesus, God, today wants to remind you that you are not forgotten. Amen. Amen. He's not unfair. Why? Because he's a father. Because he's a father, he's not unfair. Now in the gospel, Jesus tells us of that beautiful story of a father and his 2 sons. I think it's 4 verses. It takes just 20 seconds to read. Interesting. 20 seconds. And that 20-second kind of story, the father goes to speak to 2 of his sons. The same message, but different receptions. And then Jesus ends by asking those who are listening to him, what is their verdict? Which of the sons did the will of the father? I don't know whether you know how to do the will of the father or need to choose the will of the father. Before I end, I'll give you some 3, 4 points to look out for, to know the will of the father. Point number 1, it is not complicated. The will of the father, it is not complicated. What did the father ask them to do? Go and work in the vineyard. If you know the Israelites' situation at that time, working in the vineyard was very simple. It's like telling them go to the farm. You don't need any preparation before you go to farm. Those of us who farm. It's not like going to write the exam where you have to study before you go. You have to go. It's a simple task. They're just supposed to go and collect grapes, weed on the farm, and then come home. A simple task, not complicated. So if you look at your life and want to look for God's will, don't look at it in choosing a man for your husband, choosing a woman for your wife, choosing to become a priest or a religious sister as the will of God. These are the will of God, yes. But the everyday events of our lives, we can choose the will of the Father. Nothing complicated. Go to the farm, he told his children. Even as you move from this chapel, this house of God this morning, to go into your homes, to go into the world, as you see, this is our ship. You know, they saw the flood of Noah and his friends. Noah and his family were in this ship. And the waters were around them. Whenever we come to church, and then we finish and say, go, the mass is ended, it's like that ship, that ark that Noah built is here. It is open again for it to embrace the world. And that is the will of the Father. As you go back into the world, every second, every hour, every day, whatever you do, see it as the will of the Father. Choose and choose rightly. So the first point, the will of God is not complicated. Number 2, do not pretend with God. You know, the first son, we don't know his name because it doesn't matter. That is you and me anyway. So he goes to the son and tells him, go. He says, I will go. To make the father happy, to please the father, he pretended that he would do it. How many times haven't we pretended that we are holy, we are doing the will of God, and yet when we are alone, we do different things? So you see, we are the first sons. We pretend. He says, I will go. He never did. Let us avoid being that kind of son, that kind of daughter, that kind of child, pretending to who we are not. God hates those of us who pretend. So that is the second point. The third point in knowing the will of the Father, that have not been complicated, don't need to pretend, it is that it is never too late to change your mind. You see, the difference between the two sons is that one of them had a change of mind. He had told the father, I wouldn't go. So if the story had ended there, you would have judged that the first child was the best one. But thank God the story didn't end there. Later on, he realized his mistake. He changed his mind, and then he went to the vineyard. The problem for us again is that sometimes we find it difficult to change our mind. Because you have made a promise, because you have people see you this way or that way, and because of the prestige, your power, position, because of who you are, you don't want to change your mind. So you want to walk in that way. Keep up the same. No. That second son, that second child should be our mentor. We are like the first one, but the second should be our mentor. It is never too late to change your mind with God. Possibly, yesterday, last week, you made a decision, took a decision that you know is wrong. If you are realizing it now that that is a wrong decision, my dear sister, my dear brother, change your mind. Amen. It's never too late. Change your mind. Choose Jesus. Choose God. Choose life. I pray for those who find it difficult to give God a second chance, to contemplate again our decisions. May the 3 months of the year remaining, may we always find moments to change our minds when we go contrary to God's will. Amen. The last one, then I'll conclude. God is your Father. You see, because he was a father speaking to his sons, he had nothing bad. His intentions were not wrong. Go and work in the farm, in the vineyard. You see, a father's plea, a father's wish, A father's duty is never to harm his children. So, above all else, whatever comes your way, sometimes it is promotion at the workplace, sometimes it is losing your job, sometimes it is losing a loved one, sometimes it is getting that child in your marriage. Know that whatever comes your way, nothing in this world happens to us without God's permission. It is ordained by God. If you see life with the spectacles of God, if you can say, then when life makes you happy, you take it like that. When life makes you sad, you take it like that. Why? Because you are not using your own spectacles, but the eyes of God to see in that situation. I pray that we always remember when life hits us so hard to look at life, the spectacles of God. You see, the Gospels begin with Mary telling the angel, "Be done unto me according to thy." Interestingly enough, the Gospels end with Jesus saying, "Not my will, but may your will be done." Beautiful. Beginning with the will of God and ending with the will of God. May this be your life story. I pray that one day, when all is done, one day we can say that, "God, I've done your will." And whoever does the will of God is God's child. May Jesus, our brother, Jesus, our friend, Jesus, our priest prophet, may he guide us in choosing correctly the will of his Father. Amen.